I want to talk about what day we worship our God. You know, you can tell what God somebody's worshiping by the day that they worship. For example, if somebody's worshiping ancient Norwegian gods, Norse gods, they're probably worshiping on Thursday because that's Thor's day. If they're worshiping on Friday, then they're worshiping Allah. If they're worshiping on Saturday, they're Jewish and they're worshiping Yahweh. And if it's Sunday, they're either Christian, Catholic, or Orthodox, and they're worshiping Yahweh as well. Which begs the question, if we're all worshiping the same God, why are we doing it on different days? And so I remember when I was a kid, I used to think that Sunday was the Sabbath. You know, I learned the commandments and I assumed Sunday was the Sabbath because that's what day we worshiped. And then I learned that it was actually Saturday. So my first question is, well, why do we go to church on Sunday if Sabbath is Saturday? And I kind of got blown off, well, it's just the way we've always done it, kind of a thing. Well, that's a tradition then, right? It's traditions of men is what Yeshua gave the Pharisees such a hard time about, them elevating traditions of men over commandments of God. And so as an adult, I looked into it again, and the excuses I found had to do with the day Yeshua was crucified, the day he resurrected, and then the day he ascended. But there's nothing directly saying, well, now we worship on Sunday. So that seemed like kind of a weak argument. The other excuse I found was that the apostles were in a town for several weeks, and they finished worshiping on a Sabbath, teaching everybody, and they were going to leave the following day because Jews wouldn't travel on the Sabbath. And the following day was the first day of the week. They stuck around, said goodbye to people, and ended up worshiping again. That seemed kind of a pretty weak argument as well. And I've asked people today, several people, and the most common thing I get is, well, they changed it. Okay, they changed it. Who's they? Who has the authority to change God's commandments? And so I looked into that, and it turns out it was a Roman emperor by the name of Constantine, because Romans were sun worshippers. And I don't mean the Son of God, I mean they worshiped the big ball of fire in the sky. So that's just like all the other ones, who they're worshiping by the day they worship, and that's the day they worship was Sunday. Constantine even called it the venerable day of the sun. And so I don't see how a Roman emperor has the authority to change God's law. The other question is, does it matter? Because that's something people will bring up. Well, it doesn't really matter what day. But does it matter? And should we be asking ourselves if it matters what day we worship Yahweh? Or would it be better to ask Yahweh what day he wants us to worship him? And considering that he made it the fourth commandment, and it's actually a commandment that the violation of that was punishable by death, it sounds to me like it's pretty important what day. So I think these are some important things to think about. So read your Bible.